Hello, and welcome to my leadership book project. My name is Jesse Buckles. Just wanted to share this with you and talk a little bit about my book that I chose, which was H3 Leadership by Brad Lomenick. And I'm going to talk to you today about some of the main ideas and the themes of the book. I'm going to talk to you also about some quotes that inspired me and some things that challenged me through reading this book. uh, my application of how I feel like this could impact educational settings, my recommendation for the book, and then a few of the takeaways and things that I really feel that everybody who reads this book or even just wants to know more about it should be prepared to take away. The main idea and themes of this book are really based around three pillars. The three pillars are be humble, be hungry, and always hustle. And I think that's so important to have that knowledge up front so that everything else that I say makes sense. And throughout the rest of the book, what happens is the author really unpacks those three key pillars of leadership. So being humble, being hungry, and always hustling. And each one of those pillars has key leadership habits that are built into them. So, for example, under being humble, it really talks about who you are as a person and as a leader. And in there, the pillars, the key habits are self discovery, openness, meekness, conviction, faith, and assignment. And so the next one is about being hungry, right? And being hungry is really about where you're going. And that one really talks about ambition, curiosity, passion, innovation, inspiration, and the last one is bravery. And that one really stuck with me as I was reading this book. And then that last pillar is about always hustling. And that really is the key concept there is how are you going to get where you want it to go? How are you going to get there? And so it's all about hustling. And the key habits that are in there are excellence, an understanding called stick with itness, execution, team building, margin, generosity, and succession. Uh, these 20 key habits that are inside of these three pillars really do help build and kind of flesh out the understanding of a core leadership framework. I think that everyone needs to have an understanding of what a core leadership framework is because it's a bigger concept than just one or two key pieces. And I love how this book is formatted, and I really feel that everything is hit just perfectly. And the author, Brad Lomenick, uses his experience and he talks about the things that he's been through, being the leader of of this huge movement called Catalyst. This that was so prevalent and such a really big movement that it really does. After you've read it, you feel like he really has a great understanding of what it is that he's talking about. So let's get into some of my favorite things, the inspirational quotes. I found it was really hard to narrow down a lot of them, but I did find what I believe are four really great ones. So I hope that you like these as well. Again, these are the inspirational quotes. So the first one is, people would rather follow a leader who is always real versus a leader who is always right. Don't try to be a perfect leader, just work on being an authentic one. To me, it's such a inspirational quote for the simple fact that it really does embody what I think being a true authentic leader really is. It's being that understanding of, it's not trying to be perfect, it's just being who you are. Flawed, imperfect, having an understanding that you're going to make mistakes, that you're going to fail at times, but it's through that failure and that's through that failing forward that people start to see who it is that you are, and employees will gravitate and will really trust in a leader who can be vulnerable, who can acknowledge that they're not perfect, but are always striving to continue to move forward. And so I think that this quote kind of embodies that understanding of, not, you don't have to be a perfect leader, but people would rather follow somebody who is real and authentic, and they feel as real and authentic than they would someone who is always right. The next quote that I have here is, be willing to fail. True courage is being willing to share all of your heart and all of our story. Vulnerability is the birthplace, of courage, innovation, creativity, and change. Most of us are scared to death of being vulnerable. There is no innovation or creativity without failure, period. To me, this embodies the understanding of leadership. It's be willing to fail. And I think as a leader, that's the one area where we are probably the most afraid of, is the willingness to fail. I think as an educator, you have a fear of failure and failing, not only yourself, but your students, your school, your administrator, however that works. I think administrators feel the exact same way. Their fear is if they try something, it might fail, and that looks bad on them and their school, and the people that they're underneath them, districts. It's that same concept of if we have a school that's failing, it looks bad on us, and it's that trickle down effect. But I really feel like if you're going to try something new and you're going to really do something great, you have to take a risk. And risking things is the willingness to fail. And I love the fact that he starts it off with the understanding of true courage is being willing to share all of your heart and all of your story. So it goes back to that understanding of being authentic. It's I'm willing to be open with who I am. I'm being vulnerable. And that's what it says. Vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, innovation, creativity, and change. I want to mount that on a wall somewhere and just have everybody really dive into that. I love the concept of being vulnerable. There is just this wonderful, wonderful openness and really getting to know somebody when they're willing to be vulnerable. Another really great book about that is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. It's spectacular. Little segue in there. Okay, third quote is this. But there is something special, even beneficial, about showing up to a place with a particular people for a particular purpose. Community, connection, and conversation only happen when we actually experience life with others. I think as an educational leader or a leader in general, this is a beautiful quote, and it embodies what kind of community that it is that you want to have. A community that's connected, a community that can talk to each other, people that are open and willing to have conversations. They're not afraid of voicing an opinion or their feelings because they know that there's a place of mutual respect and trust. That is an amazing thing when you find that. Having that group of people that you can work with, that are leaders, that maybe you lead together. I think as a leader, that's something that you want to create, is that community that's connected, and that's an open place to be able to have conversations. To me, it's crucial. This is a cornerstone of any really great entity or anybody that wants to be a leader. I think this is a great cornerstone for that leadership framework that you're trying to build within yourself. And the last quote that I'm going to share with you here is this. And it talks about, it's from the book again, obviously, and it says, who you are is not what you do. What you do is not who you are. Identity is unchanging. Being comes before doing. Who you are determines what you do. I don't know if there's anything that's truer than that statement right there. And I've heard it said in a number of different ways, but I really do like how Brad really expresses what it is he's trying to get at. The understanding of who you are determines what you do. It is not about your job defining who you are, and it's not you defining what your job is. It's you are always who you are. You are an amazing, wonderful, spectacular person, and you're unique, and you're amazing just in who you are, and that transcends into what it is that you're going to do, and you bring all of those wonderful and unique things to that job or to being a leader. So it really is, it's that last sentence is who you are determines what it is that you are going to do. And I think that a lot of times people get it backwards. I know I have in the past. I've gotten that backwards. That first statement is who you are is not what you do. I've been guilty of being that person, and what I did defined who it was that I was. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in that. And I think as a leader, it's so crucial to have that understanding of it is not about what it is that I'm doing, but who it is that I am. And it goes back to that understanding of being authentic. The next thing I want to talk about is some challenging quotes. So I have a couple of them that I took from the book, and the first one is almost not necessarily a quote, it's like a passage out of the book. And it really, I believe, is challenging in the sense of what it talks about as leaders. So it says, meekness is not weakness. It's power under control. It's ambition grounded with humility and lived out in confidence, not arrogance. Quiet and appropriate confidence is way more attractive than loud and outspoken arrogance. Those who know the most many times are the ones who say the least. Humble leaders are willing to pass on the credit but absorb the criticism, push others higher while making themselves lower, and put the team's desires ahead of their own. A leader's job is to shepherd, not necessarily to always shine. It's about the mission, the team, and the tribe, not about you or your ego. Leaders today should be more conductors than solo artists. This is challenging. And it challenges me just reading it out loud, just like it did when I read it. Meekness is not weakness. I think in society today, that is totally counterculture. Leaders are meant to be strong. We're supposed to be these unfallible pillars of stone that nothing hurts us, and we are all-knowing, all-seeing, omnipotent beings that never get affected by anything. And I think that it's so untrue. Having the understanding that meekness is not weakness, it's power under control. Leaders not necessarily having to be in the spotlight, but build their team and raise their team. So when you're building a pedestal to stand on, it's not for you to stand on, but it's to put your team on. So even though you are the leader of that team, you build the team up. You're putting their needs and desires ahead of your own. It's that concept that towards the end it says a leader's job is to shepherd, not necessarily to always shine. What a transformative and challenging call for leaders to learn how to shepherd, to be a servant, right? To just have that understanding. To me, this is so challenging because it is so counterculture, like I said a second ago, to what it is that we have seen, what it is that has been embodied for us, and what it is that we're told good leadership is. The other quote that was super challenging for me was this one, and it's about vulnerability. It says, vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, innovation, creativity, and change. And it was one that I've kind of used earlier, and I really do feel like it still is so challenging as much as it is inspirational, because it goes back to that concept that I just talked about in the last quote about being meek. But being vulnerable is, again, not something that leaders are supposed to be. Leaders are not supposed to seem vulnerable. How can you lead a company, or how can you lead a school, or how can you do anything in leadership and be vulnerable and let people see who you are and your emotions and your heart? How can you do that and then people respect you? Most people think vulnerability and meekness as weakness, and you're weak, and so I can walk all over you. When in all honesty, it's the exact opposite. Being vulnerable is so much, it takes so much more strength to be vulnerable in front of people than it does to not. It takes so much more strength to be a shepherd and to be meek and humble than it does to be outspoken and arrogant and boastful. So again, to me, this was, oh my gosh, this was so challenging in a way to let myself and let my guard down and let just people see who it is that I am, and to be comfortable in who I am and in whose I am, rather than taking rather than feeling like I have to take all of what I need from what everybody else thinks. Very, very challenging for me. The next section that I want to talk about is the educational application of what it is that Brad Lomenick talks about in his book. And so the first one is, the first education application that I feel is so crucial is for district personnel, administrators, people that really do a lot of the leadership roles in classrooms and in school districts. And I love this graphic because if you look at this picture, there's so much going on in here that as an educational leader, you kind of go, oh my goodness, there's people paying attention and not paying attention. And the one lady is totally zoned out. And oh my goodness, there's so much going on here. But I really do feel that there is so much that could be applied to those positions from this book about being an authentic leader. I feel like people, especially in an education setting, we will bend over backwards and we will follow you off a cliff if we need to, if you're authentic. And we feel like you're just as invested in what we are doing and trying to be innovative as a buzzword, and I don't necessarily want to use it, but I'll use it for purposes of understanding. And I feel like there are so many things that go into that are applicable to that particular leadership role. So I think district administrators and leadership personnel in that realm, and principals, vice principals, and building administrators, I feel like those groups, there's such an application for this type of leadership about being humble, being hungry, always pushing yourself, and always hustling, always striving to do the very best every day. The next thing that I think there's an application for is, we talked about it a second ago too, but it's really building administrators, really building that culture within their leadership in their school. So you have your teacher leaders and those people that are going to shine, your almost department chairs and those people like that really you want to build that culture into them as well. So it comes not only from the district to the administrators for buildings, but from the building to those teacher leaders there as well, about understanding what that looks like. How do you serve your fellow faculty in such a way to where you're not above them, but you're building with them. You're helping support them and helping them to grow, and you're really seeing how that understanding of passion and helping them to be brave, and really helping them to understand how to team build as well. So it's not just you, but it's you infusing those teacher leaders with team building. So you're building a team and they're building a team, and together they're seeing what it is that you're doing, and then you're seeing what it is that they're doing, and it's this beautiful trickle down effect of how it builds upon itself. And then I think the last kind of setting that this works in so well is with teachers in the classroom. I think there are so many great takeaways that we can use in our classrooms to help empower our students. The understanding about being humble, about self-discovery and openness about who you are, right? Not teaching students that you have to be the focal point of what is going on, but as a group, you're building in those understandings that you need everybody, and it's not just about you, it's about the group, and it's about your team, and it's about really developing those leadership characteristics of conviction and passion, helping them to foster you're helping them to students to foster curiosity, right, and to be ambitious and to strive for excellence. So they're always hustling to do their very best, no matter what that is. Creating that understanding of stick with itness, so that when things get hard, they stay with it. They don't give up. They continue to press on and press forward and continue to build in. And also, you start to instill in our students the understanding of generosity, right? To really truly be generous, not only just with other people in the classroom, but with family and friends and people in the outside community and all of those things. There's a bleed over effect when we can infuse those concepts into our classroom. Our students get those, and it builds in them, and then all of a sudden it exudes from them, and it bleeds over into every area of their life, not just education. So I really do feel that we can do that in students, and as they grow and continue to build those concepts and continue to foster those things in their life, when they get to this position where they're out looking for a job and they're trying to really find their place and make their place in this world, look at what we've created. We've created these adults, I guess I want to say adults, we've created in them the understanding of how to be humble, how to hustle, and how to be hungry. And I think that employers would bend over backwards for these people, because when you can exude those things about you're humble and you know who you are and you're not afraid of who you are and you're not afraid to show who you are and you're hungry, you know what you want to do, you know how you want to go there, you are hungry about wanting to better yourself and put in the work, and then you always want to hustle. You know what you want to do it, and you know how you want to get there, and you have all of these skills that are built into those three pillars of your life. Man, I think we would set up our students for such a great future that I think they would change the world. Do I recommend this book? Yeah, if you don't get that understanding from the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes of me rambling on about what I loved about this book, let me just spell it out. Yes, I 110% recommend reading this book. It's a great book. It's not a long read. It's actually a pretty short read. It's only a couple hundred pages. And I think that it is miraculous. I felt myself wanting to continue to read more and more because I just love the concepts, and I wanted to see what it is that he said about the next piece or that next phase, or how it applied. And I find myself going back as things happen in my daily life, whether I'm at work or I'm at home. I find myself revisiting the concepts and those things that he talked about. So I definitely recommend this book. Definitely recommend this book. My final thoughts and some takeaways. I really feel, again, throughout this book, that we need to embrace who we are and remember that leadership is more than just hard work. It is habitual work. That's really, I think, the overview of what Brad Lomenick is talking about in his book. Is being a good leader is not about just hard work. It's about habitual work. It's the habits that we form. It's that continuation of doing the same things over and over and over again that really bring home and focus us on what that understanding of leadership is. And it's that continual check-ins, it's those continual conversations, it's that continual community building, it's those habits that we form. And I think it's so important that everybody gets an understanding of what that is, because habits really do make or break who it is that we are and who it is that we can become. Another thought on being humble is the concept of being humble really is all about your internal leadership, and it deals with your heart. It's a heart issue, and I love that the book starts with that. So it really starts with you. It digs into who it is that you are, and really focuses for a good portion of the book on who that is, and really talking about those internal pieces that make up our heart and how that affects us. But being hungry is all about your external leadership, and it deals with your head. It deals with how you talk to people, how you lead, really what it is that is going to help define you as a good leader. And the last takeaway and final thought is always hustling. And that's that expression and extension of leadership. It deals with our hands. So what are you going to put your hands into? How are you going to get in there? Because leadership is not just about telling other people what to do. It's about you getting your hands in there as well, working alongside people, shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, really getting in there with them and showing them that you are just as invested in whatever it is that's going on as they are. I think that's such a crucial piece of being a leader, is being humble, being hungry, always hustling. And to me, this has just transformed everything that I think about a leader as leadership, what a leader should be, and who, as a leader, I want to be. And I really do feel that I will be forever changed as I continue to apply these principles to my life. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to my video, and I hope that it has helped you understand this book a little bit better. Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later.